In 2023, NASA supported 304,803 jobs in the United States. These jobs are paid for by the $25.4 billion annual budget, $9.5 billion being citizens' tax dollars. Sounds a lot till you compare it to the $75.6 billion that they produced that year. NASA doesn't run like a regular private company, but if they did, that would mean that their profit margin would be 66.4%, putting them in the top 0.0001 of companies in the world.
The government sponsoring space exploration and research groups like NASA and SpaceX can be beneficial to our society.
The pro-space exploration is worth the con of being taxed by the government in order to pay for the space exploration, because society would not know what's beyond our planet. These tax dollars go to NASA and they create jobs for people, which further benefits our society and economy, creating more opportunities for people. Take this statistic for example. The report estimates that during the period NASA generated more than $75 billion in total economic output. This is why funding space exploration is worth the tax dollars, because it is put back into the economy. Although NASA makes a lot, they also take a lot. For example, the statistic from 2023 says, in the United States, NASA's funding, which is around $25.4 billion in 2023, comes from the federal tax dollars, representing roughly half a penny for every federal tax dollar. These tax dollars show that NASA's funding is just a robbery for the everyday citizen from the money they make. Although I have to return to my first point and agree that in the end, the funding for NASA is worth it because it generates more good from the tax dollars it takes. It creates jobs and fuels the economy in a positive manner. Also, our human curiosity takes us to space in order to understand the universe we live in. Take this quote from writer Drew Jones, for example. Yet our knowledge of the universe matters because we live in the universe.
The worth of giving citizen tax dollars to the government to be given to space programs like NASA and SpaceX can be beneficial to our society. It is of best interest for the government to give tax dollars to space exploration, and without technological determinism, society would not be what it is today. According to Eric Stribling, governments invest the most in space capabilities and space research for many reasons. One of the reasons being purely scientific research. Technological advancements from NASA have been funded by the government, such as LASIK eye surgery and the implementation of cameras on the back of phones, which were both spin-off technologies from NASA. The economy can benefit from these government-sponsored NASA spin-off technologies that are purchased and used day to day. Sadly, growth of the economy can result in high-paying jobs, accumulating wealth in certain occupations, leaving the middle class out. The middle class will be left out of the opportunity to obtain these high-paying jobs, causing economic inequality. The middle class will shrink while the other classes grow. Although this is the case, spending money on space exploration and space research will open up thousands of job opportunities, leading our society to higher employment rates and more of a catalog to choose from when deciding on what to study.
In the economical political state of the world right now, it is viable to invest in such a high profit agenda to achieve space exploration. According to the website The Planetary Society, and I quote, "Space research isn't as expensive as you might think. Many people think NASA takes up a quarter of the US federal budget, but in fact, NASA's entire budget is about 0.5% of the total budget. In other countries, space budgets are even smaller. An argument can be made about how most of the taxpayers' money goes to space research and is too expensive, but it's half 8% of taxpayers' money. People argue that their money is being spent for unimportant things such as outer space. It is not a necessity to fund for space exploration due to its uninhabitable nature or its uncontrollable forces lurking outside Earth. Even though that's a possibility, I'm still siding with funding NASA for space exploration because one day the world will lose its value and people will need a new planet to conquer.
Space exploration is used and beneficial in many ways, and it is also worth the government spending because without it, we wouldn't know what is in the universe, as well as things like satellites. Because of satellites, new applications can be created or improved, like meteorology, energy, telecommunications, transport, aviation, and urban development. This is why it is worth the government spending, because it can create jobs, new fields of work, and further help everyone and lead to social and economic benefits. People think it's unnecessary to explore space and it's not worth the cost. People don't like the billions of dollars in tax spending that comes with space exploration for the little amount of change they see from it. Although I do think there are lots of useful things that come from space exploration, it is a pretty large cost, and I do think they should try and bring costs down and make it more accessible and easier to do it more often.